We're back with more of Where You Live. We are out in the woods in Kalamazoo County where we are logging. This is a really cool thing. You've got a group of students out here that you're teaching some things about forestry. What are you teaching?
Right, so we took a walk through the woods already. We went over a lot of different tree species that are out on this property. We taught them how to use a diameter stick to figure out diameter of tree.
How do you do that?
Well, these sticks are actually made for this. So we did a demonstration about how to use this to figure out the diameter. And then using a ruler and a bunch of other tools, they can walk away from the tree, figure out the height. We can figure out the volume in that tree. And then, so we went through, did a bunch of examples through the woods, went over a lot of different species on this property. And from there, we got to this point where we're cutting a tree down to figure out what the board footage is in it. So.
Why do you need to use something like this, and why do I even need to worry about the diameter and all of that? What is that? How does that help me?
So we went over a little bit about forest management, and what you're looking at in the woods is to figure out what trees to take out. Part of that equation is figuring out the diameter, and without that diameter, you can't figure out anything about the tree as far as the volume. And we also went over sort of the price of the tree, sort of current market values of that kind of stuff. So without that diameter, you really can't figure any of that out. So.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Charles and Tyron are going to show me how we do this. We're going to put this practical knowledge to use. So let's use this stick and figure out the diameter.
You'd want this side to line up with the edge of the tree, and then you'd get it lined up, your eye lined up, and then you'd look over and you'd look to see what line it's on.
So what do you think this actually is, the diameter from here to here?
It's about 14.
14, okay.
From there, and then you'd come about a quarter of the way around the tree, and then you do the same thing. See what that comes out to, and it's 14.
So it's 14 by 14.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll pass that information on to our next guy. What are you going to do with the measurements of 14 by 14?
Well, actually, before we can go back to the measurements to get the board feet, we have to figure out how tall it is in which you get the ruler for.
Okay.
You take the ruler, you have somebody hold it.
I'll hold it.
They
You take this microphone and explain what you're doing.
Oh, and then you back up to like 66 feet, and then I'm gonna have Christian come over here, and you take the edge of the measuring stick that you got here, and it'll tell you how many logs you'll get out of it. So we are now currently at 66 feet. So you stand here at 66 feet, you hold this,
you want to put the very bottom of the measuring stick at the very bottom of the tree. And then you want to bring it all the way up to about where it forks off up there.
Mm-hmm.
You get about 4, 3.5, maybe about 4. You can do it if you want.
All right, so I'm measuring this tree. What am I looking at?
So you want to line the bottom of this up with the bottom of the tree.
Okay.
And then look all the way up until you get to the fork of the tree. You see it kind of split off in those leaves?
Right.
Yeah. So how many do you see?
I don't know. How many do you see?
Like 3.5, 4.
I'm there with you. All right, so this is actually going to tell you that this is how far we have to go for this tree to drop and how big this thing is?
No, you just go 66 feet back, and whoever created this idea of how to figure out how many logs you would get out of it, I don't know, you just go 66 feet back. That's not how far the tree will fall itself. That's just how you figure how many logs are in it.
I'm impressed. You guys are using some math skills here, some critical thinking. It's all coming together, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great stuff. Okay, so we know the diameter, we know the height, and we know the volume of the tree.
Right.
What are we going to do with that information?
So they've figured out that there's 100 board feet in this tree. A volume is how we figure out how much a tree is going to be worth. This tree is on the smaller end of the spectrum, so it's not something that's typically going to be your high-value tree. It's something we're taking out of this woods for an actual management type of purpose. So if there's 100 board feet in this tree, they should be able to tell you how much this tree is worth, in theory.
All right, who's got it? Who knows approximately? Somebody's got it. You're measuring. What do you think? What do you think?
About 15.
About $15, is he right?
He's right. Yeah, this tree is going to be worth about $15 to $20 in a market setting. And again, it's not a big tree where you're talking a lot of value, but it's something we're taking out of this wood as far as management purposes.
All right, you guys ready to take this one out? All right, let's cut down the hickory tree. All right, so Scott, we watched you cut down that hickory tree. What's next?
We're going to haul this up to the sawmill. Excuse me. We're going to haul this up to the sawmill, and the kids are going to cut it into boards
Wow. So how do you haul this thing up?
with the skidder.
So you put a big chain around it and you drag it through the woods.
We put a choker chain around it, attach it to the cable on the skidder, winch it towards the skidder so it's nice and close to it, and yes, we just drag it out of the woods.
You know, when you're busy doing this, you obviously are a professional. What are some words of safety and caution you have for people who are trying this? I mean, you're a trained professional.
Don't do this at home. Trees are very unpredictable. If you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. Even trained loggers, I think we've had 2 at least killed in Michigan this year, and that's what they do for a living. So if you don't know what you're doing, you don't want to be doing it.
All right, so really, you know, don't go out and try this.
That's right. That's not a good thing to do.
Excellent. Thank you for letting us watch this. This is cool. We'll meet you up at the area where we're going to do the logging.
Excellent.
Celebration Cinema is proud to be a part of where you live.